Russia is confident that Kiev will seek permission from South Korea to supply the Hyunmoo-5 ballistic missile. The program director of the Academy of Political Sciences of the Russian Federation said this. The Hyunmoo-5 missile, which is almost 20 meters long and has an 8-ton warhead, is capable of destroying underground bunkers. The program director of the Academy of Political Sciences of the Russian Federation, Alexander Stepanov, is confident that Kiev is already working on the possibility of nevertheless obtaining permission from Korea for these missiles, the resource Dialogue media outlet reports. According to Stepanov, the new Korean missile is capable of flying a distance of 3.5 thousand kilometers, which means it fits into the classification of RSDM. According to him, if Seoul hands over this missile to Kyiv, Korea will become a direct accomplice to the war in Ukraine. Stepanov also accused Washington of trying to create two escalation zones at once, in Ukraine and the Asia-Pacific region. Experts from Defense Express wrote back in October that this is the most powerful non-nuclear missile ever created in the world. If the combat weight is reduced to 1 ton, the missile will cover a distance of 5,000 kilometers. The speed is about 10 Mach. It has already been nicknamed Monster Missile. Seoul tested it back in the summer of 2024. Its main task is to destroy bunkers. Seoul began working on a missile program in the 1990s. The Hyunmoo-2 missile flew up to 800 kilometers. Some military experts have found similarities between the Korean Hyunmoo-2 missile and the Russian Iskander, but some experts are confident that Seoul developed the missile based on the Israeli LoRa. The Hyunmoo-5, the latest and most powerful missile in the Hyunmoo series, is now a strategic asset in South Korea's Korea Massive Punishment and Retaliation KMPR strategy, which is part of the country's three-axis system. South Korea's three-axis system consists of the kill chain, the Korea Air and Missile Defense, and the Korea Massive Punishment and Retaliation strategy. The kill chain is a preemptive strike system designed to detect clear signs of a potential nuclear attack from North Korea and destroy key targets related to its nuclear and missile infrastructure, such as command and control systems, launch sites, and support systems, including mobile launchers. The Korea Air and Missile Defense is a missile defense system deployed by the Republic of Korea Air Force that detects and intercepts enemy ballistic missiles using various missile defense systems, including the US Forces Korea's THAAD, the Republic of Korea's L-SAM for high-altitude coverage, and the Patriot M-SAM for mid-altitude defense. Low-altitude missile threats will be addressed by the ROK Army's low-altitude missile defense system, which is currently under development. The EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Kaja Kallas, does not rule out the presence of foreign troops in Ukraine. She also believes that Europe can play a role, according to ANSA. So far, the discussion has centered on which countries are ready to send soldiers to Ukraine and which are not. I believe that nothing can be ruled out and a certain strategic ambiguity should be maintained in this matter, Kallas said in her first interview in her new position. In her opinion, Europe could play a role if it is possible to reach a ceasefire with the need to send troops to verify its observance. In any case, the choice in this regard remains with Ukraine, she added. She also said that she is already building bridges with the future new US administration. But when I hear reports from member states that have had talks with the Trump administration, they no longer say that ending this war is easy. Maybe we should ask ourselves if the ceasefire is useful to the Russians so that they don't give up their goals. Because Ukraine is having a hard time right now, but we are overestimating Moscow. Their economy has entered a difficult phase. Sanctions, deficits, inflation, and a shortage of personnel, Kallas said, and emphasized that supporting Ukraine is in the interests of the United States, as a victory for Moscow would strengthen China, Iran, and North Korea. In the summer, French President Emmanuel Macron suggested that NATO forces could be deployed to support Ukraine. This sparked a broad discussion among the allies. However, it was not about participating in combat operations, but about the work of military instructors. Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, and Canada said they were ready to discuss options. According to Le Monde, after Donald Trump's victory in the US election, discussions resumed. In particular, Paris and London may allegedly lead a foreign military contingent. According to the sources, the debate is classified, but the discussion of the possible deployment of both regular troops and private military companies has intensified. Meanwhile, British Foreign Secretary David Lammy said that the position has not changed and that London does not intend to send troops to Ukraine. To recap, the idea of European troops is likely to be included in Trump's plan. According to The Telegraph, the new American president may call on the European Union and the United Kingdom to send troops to secure a buffer zone between Ukraine and Russia along the demarcation line if a truce is reached. In November, Russian forces suffered the highest number of irrecoverable and sanitary personnel losses since the beginning of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The total amounted to 45,720 servicemen, according to the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. It is noted that this number is comparable to more than 3 motorized infantry divisions of the Russian Army's ground forces. According to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, in November, our forces zeroed and 300'd 2,030 enemy soldiers in a single day. This is also the highest enemy loss figure in a day since February the 24th, 2022, the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine stated. Additionally, throughout November, Ukrainian defenders struck 307 enemy tanks, which is the highest number this autumn. To remind, in September and October, 291 and 279 enemy tanks were destroyed or damaged, respectively. The ministry pointed out that a Russian tank battalion consists of 31 vehicles, meaning that over the last month of autumn, the occupiers lost nearly 10 tank battalions, both destroyed and damaged. The estimated value of this amount of equipment is equivalent to $450 million, the Ministry of Defense added. The report also indicated that as a result of active combat actions by the Ukrainian Armed Forces, 899 enemy armored fighting vehicles were struck in November, which is roughly the number of armored fighting vehicles in 4 motorized infantry divisions. This amount of armored fighting vehicles cost the aggressor state's budget approximately at least $500 million. The ministry noted, in November, the Ukrainian Defense Forces also hit 884 units of the enemy's artillery systems. One artillery division of the Russian army consists of 18 self-propelled guns. As a result, our forces deprived the enemy of the ability to conduct combat operations for 49 artillery divisions last month. The value of these artillery systems amounts to about $700 million. The Ministry of Defense stated. The ministry also concluded that the estimated value of Russia's total losses in weapons and equipment in November 2024 exceeded $3 billion. In September and October, this figure was lower. Therefore, the Kremlin continues to spend enormous amounts of money to prolong the war, the Ministry of Defense added.